Women tend to like taking care of and giving, and sometimes we forget to care for ourselves. Take some moments to yourself. If you're depleted, you're not good for anyone else. You have to place your oxygen mask on first before you support others. You can't drink from an empty cup. Give yourself some grace. You're doing the best you can. After graduating from college, I actually studied fashion design and merchandising. So I moved and lived in New York City, and I worked in accessories for about 15 years, and then decided to really focus on raising my 3 kids. So I was in between jobs for a while, and back in 2004, my husband came home and said, "Hey, I'm getting involved in this idea." Basically, he and a few others in our community recognized the need for support for families that were grieving. There really wasn't much around then. We had had 9/11, a few years prior, and they just recognized the need. So they put their heads together and decided to create this nonprofit called Good Grief with the purpose of supporting families who had experienced a death in their family. So I was actually in the very first group of trainees. We were trained by someone from the Dougie Center, which is a very well-known bereavement center also. And they came in and they spent time with us, and we were able to launch Good Grief. And it's just going on 20 years. We have 2 family centers, one in Morristown and one in Princeton. And it's one of the fastest growing grief centers in the country, actually. And my role over the 20 years I've been there has evolved. I started as a volunteer facilitator, sitting with the kids, working with the kids, playing with the kids, to team coordinator, which is someone that manages a night of support, to positions like outreach coordinator, alumni family coordinator. I stayed in touch with the families once they left Good Grief, and then donor engagement officer, and I'm currently head of family centers. So I take care of all program related functions. I manage 6 members of the program staff, 23 team coordinators. I oversee 200 volunteer facilitators, over 10 nights of support that serve currently over 300 families. Quality assurance is really my focus. I ensure proper implementation of the policies and practices across the centers. All that to say, my favorite role is still as a facilitator in the kids groups, just sitting on the floor with them, creating that safe space for them to express their feelings. We've learned that grief can be very isolating, and bringing people together to take advantage of this peer support model can lead to a lot of connection and some healing and eventually hope. It's easy to burn out when you have that strong sense of commitment, dedication, and purpose. I would say self-care is really important to prioritize and those boundaries. It's important to take time for ourselves so that we can recharge. For me, and I think for a lot of our staff, that can include exercise, a walk outside in nature, meditation, journaling, seeing a therapist. The boundary I set for myself is that no matter what, and this job can get really busy, I really try to make my exercise routine a priority. I think it's really important to move. So for me, that works, and I really try to do that 5 or 6 days a week, that physical movement and exercise. What's probably most important for people is finding an outlet that works for you and not to be too hard on yourself. Because I think some people hear self-care and they immediately feel guilty that they haven't found the time. Like, oh, self-care, I don't have time for a therapist. I don't have time for exercise. And it doesn't necessarily have to be about that. Give yourself some grace. If you can identify something that works for you, exercise or otherwise, that's great. If you're not quite there yet, it's okay. I think eventually it'll come, especially as you build self-awareness around the need and how important it is to make time to do that. And that's what we do for each other. We make sure that the staff has those plans in place to recharge. We recognize in our work how important it is, and I wanted to talk for a second about our volunteers because we have so many of them. You know, we have 200. They are the heart of our organization. we're asking them to come in and volunteer their time to be with these grieving families. So we talk a lot about the importance of self-care. And for us, we really focus in order to support them on a couple of things. When they come into, so we call it a night of support. When our families come in, we have 10 nights of support. We have about 60 people that come into the centers at that time. They come in the evening, but our volunteers meet ahead of the families coming to the center. So we create this space, a comfortable space for them to come in, talk about their day, whatever came up for them, maybe what kind of mood they're in, what they're struggling with, whatever it takes for them to kind of let go of their stuff among people who get it. We're compassionate listeners so that they can be fully present to those people when they go into those groups. And then afterwards, we meet again before they go home. So they're not carrying these stories and these images that they saw. We call it processing. We allow them to talk about what it was that they saw. The processing part, the ability to process, the ability to talk about what you're experiencing is hugely critical. Then we do something called a spring symposium. It's a spring institute that we hold every spring. That's literally about expressing appreciation to our facilitators, but also taking care of them, giving them the tools they need, including self-care. Also, I thought this was interesting. We recently did a workshop on this. Protect yourselves. Ground yourself when you walk in the doors of the work. That's what we do. We kind of take a grounding breath before we walk into the center doors as a way to transition. Before you leave, take another grounding breath. So you're kind of leaving your work where it is. Those practices seem to really help. So that's kind of what we do to encourage the staff. I think boundaries are really important in general. You know, I know that our kids at Good Grief, and I think us as adults, we like boundaries. Boundaries help us know what to expect. And I think without a boundary, it's just too much. It's just too vast. Like the boundaries kind of bring you in and help center you. For those of us who have a big workload, and that can happen in a nonprofit, where you're likely understaffed, could be overworked, we encourage everyone to kind of raise the flag, ask for help, and be true to yourself. You know, so when you've reached your limit, be honest about it, negotiate with your superiors. You know, if you're not having your needs met, you're feeling consistently overwhelmed, that's certainly a signal that, you know, you might need to put your heads together and reevaluate your workload, how you can let go of it, delegate it to other people, divide up tasks. It's also critical that the organization is supportive and recognize the need to take time off, to recharge, or whatever that takes to recharge, offer professional development, offer additional resources outside the organization so that you have access to them if you need them. I also think it's important for leaders to monitor stress levels of people on their team. Like look for the signs for burnout and keep that open line of communication so that you can meet their needs so that they feel less stressed. Those help create the boundaries, and they are really important, I think, in this work and any kind of work. It's so easy to fall into that trap of giving and caring, and maybe caring too much. Women tend to like taking care of and giving, and sometimes we forget to care for ourselves. Take some moments to yourself. If you're depleted, you're not good for anyone else. You have to place your oxygen mask on first before you support others. That's really important. So for those women, really busy women, driven women out there, super successful, take the time for yourselves. Put that oxygen mask on first so that you can do more for those people that support, depend on you, that you're leading. There's also another one. You can't drink from an empty cup, you know, and it's true. You can't. You need to keep your cup filled or halfway filled in order to do the work that you're charged with doing. And I think women tend to be kind of hard on themselves. And if they can do that in whatever capacity that looks like, again, it's like a muscle. So it might be a quick walk, and maybe you're expanding on that walk, and that becomes a habit. Give yourself some grace. You're doing the best you can.